The sun filtered through the tall windows of the Harper estate in Brentwood, Tennessee, casting golden lines across the hardwood floors of the living room. It was a quiet morning, one of those rare, still moments before the world fully woke. Inside, Daniel Harper stood by the coffee machine, dressed in his usual tailored shirt and slacks, yet barefoot, a small act of rebellion in his otherwise tightly managed life. The soft hum of the machine was the only sound until the monitor on his kitchen counter lit up. One of the cameras he had installed a few days ago had picked up motion in the garden. He turned toward it, hesitating for a moment. He hadn't meant to spy. That wasn't the reason he'd installed the cameras. He told himself it was for safety for his son. But if he was honest, a deeper part of him needed reassurance. Reassurance that the person now in his son's daily life was who she claimed to be. Just a week prior, Daniel had made a decision that went against every instinct he had as both a father and a man who had built his fortune from nothing. He hired a nanny. Not just any nanny, but a stranger. Someone outside the fortress of trust he had spent years building after his wife passed away and left him to raise their only child alone. His son, Elijah, was 12, bright, and curious, and had been confined to a wheelchair since birth. Daniel had done everything to ensure Elijah had the best life possible. Custom mobility equipment, private tutors, cutting-edge therapy. But there were gaps. Emotional ones. Ones Daniel couldn't fill, no matter how many hours he tried to carve out from boardroom meetings and international flights. His company, Harper Dynamics, now ran itself more or less, but Daniel's presence was still demanded in nearly every major decision. He was used to control of environments, of outcomes, of people. But with Elijah, he was always one step behind. He remembered clearly the day Emma Jensen walked into the house. She was quiet, composed, and carried a warmth that wasn't performative. She didn't come in with overly rehearsed smiles or generic child development quotes. Instead, she met Elijah's eyes directly, crouched to his level, and simply said, "Hey, I'm Emma. You want to show me your favorite room in the house?" Daniel watched from the upstairs landing that day, not saying a word. It had been only a week, but something about the way Elijah had responded to her lingered in Daniel's mind. Elijah had been skeptical of most people, but with her, he had nodded, turned his chair, and said, "Follow me." Now, watching the monitor, Daniel saw her again out in the garden. The timestamp read 7:12 a.m. Elijah's chair was tilted slightly forward on the stone path, and beside him, Emma knelt on the grass, holding a large yellow flower near his nose. She was laughing at something he said, her eyes wrinkling at the corners, completely unself-conscious. Elijah grinned, wide and open, a type of smile Daniel hadn't seen in far too long. He clicked into the archive footage, the one he hadn't dared review until now, and sat down at the counter with a fresh cup of coffee growing cold in his hand. The recordings played silently at first. Emma and Elijah in the living room, playing a card game. She let him win, but teased him about cheating. In another clip, they were in the kitchen. She tied an apron around him and was guiding his hands as he tried to stir a bowl of batter, flour dusting the counters like snow. The sight made Daniel exhale, not in frustration, but something closer to awe. Then came the piano moment. It was mid-afternoon. Sunlight dappled across the polished baby grand in the study. Elijah had his fingers on the keys, hesitant, uncertain. Emma sat beside him, placing her hands over his gently, guiding a simple tune, "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star." He looked at her, grinned, and pressed the notes again, a little more confidently this time. The room filled with something far more powerful than music. Joy, and not the fleeting kind. Daniel paused the video and leaned forward, elbows on the counter, chin in his hands. His throat felt tight. He had built empires, launched products that changed industries, been on the covers of business magazines. But this was the most meaningful thing he had witnessed in years. That night, he returned home earlier than usual. The house smelled of something sweet, cinnamon and apples. As he stepped inside, he heard laughter from the dining room. Elijah's laughter, the kind that was full and unhindered. Emma was sitting at the table, her hand casually holding a spoonful of cobbler. Elijah leaned over, mock whispering a joke in her ear. She howled with laughter, snorting slightly, then clapped her hand over her mouth. Daniel cleared his throat. Both of them looked up. "Hey," Emma said, her smile still lingering. "We saved you some." He looked at Elijah first. "You doing okay?" Elijah nodded. "We made pie." "Cobbler," Emma corrected gently. Daniel approached slowly, took the offered plate, and for a moment just stood there, uncertain where to sit. Emma noticed. She pulled out the chair next to Elijah without saying a word. He took the seat. That night, when Emma was tidying up the kitchen and Elijah had gone to bed, Daniel lingered. He watched as she wrapped leftovers in foil, humming softly an old lullaby, the same one his wife used to sing. He spoke before he could stop himself. "You're an amazing person, Emma." She turned, surprised. Her cheeks flushed slightly, but her smile never faltered. "Thank you. That means a lot." From then on, the air between them shifted gently at first. Their conversations stretched longer into the evenings, sometimes over coffee, sometimes while folding laundry. Daniel started carving out moments just to observe, not because he didn't trust her anymore, but because watching her interact with Elijah was like watching healing in real time. And slowly, he noticed other things. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking. How she bit her lip when concentrating. The way her laugh filled the room and made the walls feel less like a mansion and more like a home. It was months before Daniel admitted the truth to himself, that he looked for excuses to be around her, that she had become part of the fabric of their lives, not just as a caregiver, but as something deeper. One evening in early spring, as pink blossoms framed the windows of the living room, Daniel found Emma outside on the porch. Elijah had already gone to bed. She sat on the swing, gently rocking, a book closed on her lap. He joined her. "Can I ask you something personal?" he said. Emma looked over, curious. "Sure. Have you ever thought about staying?" he asked. "Not just as Elijah's nanny, but as part of the family." Her eyes widened. "Daniel, I know it's sudden, and I know you probably didn't sign up for any of this, but I've seen the way you care for him. And me. You've changed this place. Changed us. I don't want to imagine this house without your voice in it." Emma was quiet for a long moment. The night breeze rustled the leaves above them. Then she reached for his hand. "Already feel like I belong," she whispered. A year later, under a canopy of white blossoms and soft jazz music, they were married in the backyard. Elijah rolled down the aisle with the rings in his lap, beaming brighter than anyone. 6 months after that, their daughter, Olivia, was born. And when Daniel placed her gently into Elijah's arms for the first time, the boy looked down with wonder and whispered, "I'm your big brother." Emma stood beside them, tears in her eyes. Their house changed. Laughter lived in every room. The kitchen echoed with little feet and playful chaos. Emma filled their world not just with love, but with life. And Daniel, the man who once thought success was in net worth, expansion metrics, and quarterly gains, came to realize that none of it compared to this. Early morning baby giggles, Elijah learning new piano pieces, Emma's hand in his as they danced barefoot in the kitchen long after the kids were asleep. He had spent a lifetime building walls to protect his empire. But it wasn't until he let someone in truly in that he discovered what it meant to live. It turned out, home wasn't place. It was her. And love, real love, was letting go of control just long enough to feel it fully. Forever.